Hey everyone, this is One Man Zerg with the UEN.com, and I'm giving you some tactical tips today on using Corruptors. Corruptors are probably most well known for taking out Protoss Colossus, because Colossus are so devastating to your Zerg ground army, and they can help push back on those units. But they're also great at taking out battle cruisers, brood lords, and carriers, any kind of massive air unit really. And they have an ability called Corruption, which will increase your unit's damage output by 20% for 30 seconds, so that's great. So check out these tips. I'm giving you a tip on using Corruptors to kill Colossus. Colossus are a huge enemy of the Zerg army. You can see this one has 23 kills. And they are especially effective against Hydralisks, because Hydralisks have a low HP count of 80 and get in lines when they attack, which is exactly what the Colossus wants. And the Colossus are also decent against Zerglings just because they two-shot the little suckers, and with upgrades they can one-shot them. So the Zerg player Machine here has been going a large land army the whole game. So to counter a large land army, your opponent's going to go with Colossus. So when you see them going Colossus, you can then get Corruptors, because you know they're going Colossus because they know you're going land, and you can use those Corruptors to take out their Colossus. And you want to use those Corruptors first before you bring in your land troops, because Colossus can make really quick work of your land troops. So these Corruptors come in, there's not much anti-air, so you can bring them in and keep them there. Take down that first Colossus right there, and then they're going to continue to pound on these other Colossus. And then at that point in time, after you've pushed them back, you've done some damage or killed the Colossus, you can bring in the rest of your ground troops to push in, because you know these Colossus are going to go down a lot faster because you've already eliminated one and you put the enemy on the defensive. And then your ground troops that would have otherwise been decimated by those 4 Colossus can just come in here and clean up the rest of the ground troops that the Corruptors can't. Here's a use of Corruptors and using them versus Colossus when you're fighting Protoss. Colossus are a really hard unit to deal with. They can take down almost all of your ground units very effectively, except the Ultralisk. And to deal with them appropriately when you have a Roach, Hydra, Zergling mixed before that Tier 3 Ultra, Corruptors are your best bet. And Corruptors do extra damage versus massive, so that's why they're so good here. You do have to watch out. You can see these Corruptors are really low because they actually got feedback from all of these High Templar. And to set this up, Demaga, who's a very high level Zerg player, just lost a lot of his units to this devastating Protoss force of, you can see, 4 Colossus, 10 Templar, and a mix of Sentries, Stalkers, and Zealots, which he no longer has, but he did have a lot as his meat shield. So let's watch how this play unfolds. Demaga's really got to make a move, because this ground army here cannot handle this ground army over here. So he's got to bring in these Corruptors to deal with the Colossus. So he's going to bring them in, and you're going to lose some, but that's okay. He's just got to focus down these Colossus. So he focuses them down one at a time, and then gets those ground troops, focus them down. And he knows if he takes out those Colossus, he can use reinforcement ground troops to deal with the rest of this Protoss army. So let's fast forward this a little, and you can see he's going to bring in some reinforcement ground troops, and that's going to allow him some flexibility to put some back and forth. From what looked like an army that's just going to push out on his base, now he's able to buy time, defend it, and then have some back and forth with the opponent, as opposed to getting walked all over by those Colossus, and all because he used those Corruptors. Here's another tip on using Corruptors. This isn't a high level game, it's actually myself and then some random opponents in a 3v3 game. So Corruptors have an ability called Corruption, which you can use at 75 mana. You cast it on a unit, and your units deal 20% more damage for 30 seconds, or that unit just takes 20% more damage, not just your units do more damage. And so when you're facing a large unit, you're going to want to use your Corruptors to cast Corruption on those units. And you can do it a couple ways. You can click C to cast it, and then you can hold down Shift and then just click, click, click. Or you can click C and then click, and then hit C again and click, C again and click. I prefer the Shift method, it's just easier. And then you're going to want to target your units in order of lowest health to highest health. So let's go through that real quick. Just come in here, cast Corruption on the 3 units, and then you can see I focus fire down one, then I focus fire down the other, then I focus fire down the last one. By doing this, you're going to make sure that you lose the least amount of units, because you're taking out their units in the quickest possible manner. Here's a quick example of Corruptors. Now this is a little one-sided battle. You can see I have a lot of Corruptors. What is that? About 21 Corruptors right there. and then my opponent has 6 battle cruisers, and the approximate ratio of corruptor to battle cruiser in an equivalent fight is 3 corruptors for every 1 battle cruiser, so I'm definitely outdoing that, and he's taking damage. But you can see just corruptors with casting some corruption on the units and then just focus firing down. They can take out those battle cruisers so quickly, and then just move on to, I don't know, becoming a brood lord or just securing air for the rest of the map. Just remember, when you're pushing into a Protoss base, push those Colossus back, get that army out of position, and once that army's out of position, you've taken out a Colossus or 2, then you can bring your troops in. If you're on defense, just push out on those Colossus so you get time to rebuild your troops, and then you can bring in more waves after you've taken down those devastating Colossus. And if you're fighting some massive air units, don't forget, corrupt the air units and then focus fire them down from lowest health to highest health in that order to save and maximize your troops. Hope you guys enjoyed this tip, and go to the UEN.com for more tips and tricks like this. Thanks for listening.